This website has 9,000 products in a collection and the page loads in under 3 seconds. If you are a brand manager, a founder, a CMO, and you're wondering why your site is slow, I promise you are not doing one of the things they're doing. Site speed is very important. For every second above 3 seconds, you lose 7% of conversion. This has been proved over 15 years in multiple reports by Google and Amazon. To fix site speed, it's important to understand how sites actually work. A website is made up of 4 components: assets, which is images and videos, styles, scripts, and a HTML document. When you first go onto a website, you download a HTML document, and this is just a list of the layout and all the items that are in it. So for example, in the HTML document, it's got all the URLs to the images. The browser then reads this document and downloads all the images, the scripts, and the styles, and then puts them all together. And this is super important because if you don't understand this process, you can't optimize it. Based on the top 100 revenue generating Shopify stores, the average web page size for the homepage is 35 megabytes over 618 network requests. So that's getting all the images, the videos, everything like that. I was testing it for this website. The average site takes 6.7 seconds to download. Okay. That's important for the next part. This collection page from a brand I used to work with has 9,000 SKUs. So based on the images, the average product image is about 6 kilobytes, and they also manually download the reviews, call it 7 kilobytes. If you times that by 9,000, we're looking at 65 megabytes, which would mean, based on my network speed, it'd take about 12 seconds to load. However, this page is loading in like 2 seconds. How does that happen? Is through progressive loading. Technically, every website uses progressive loading, but they don't do it on purpose, and because of that, they don't get all of the benefits. Progressive loading just means you don't load everything at once. When the browser first accesses the HTML and it sees all the files, it will just try and download everything, which is stupid because it could be trying to download something 7 scrolls down instead of loading the banner. The problem with site speed is normally a traffic jam. Too many things are trying to happen at once and they're fighting for resource. So by spreading it out and making the load happen over progressive steps, it's a much smoother experience. So with the traffic jam analogy, it's like you don't need all the traffic to go super fast. You just need where you are to not be blocked. As I scroll through this collection of 9,000 products, you can see it's progressively loading more images. Instead of loading everything at the start, we do it based on interactivity. Examples of this are if you have a complicated cart app, we don't need to run this script until we actually open the cart. We can't use it. Or if we've got images in the menu, if the menu is not open, we don't need the images to load. There are 2 ways to do progressive loading, and they both massively increase the speed of the website. The first one is incredibly easy. You add the lazy loading tag. It is literally a single line of code and the browser does the rest. If you can do it, I don't see why you wouldn't. Lazy loading just tells the browser that this is not an important resource. So when you first get the HTML document and there's a list of things to download, it puts lazy things at the back of the queue. If it's not doing anything else, it might download it, but otherwise it waits until it comes into the view. This should be done for every image that you can't see above the fold. Do not do it for images above the fold because you are basically telling it to deprioritize these images. If you do it above the fold, you're deprioritizing what the user sees, so it actually makes the page load slower. So that is the one caveat. Only do it to images you can't see when you load the page. The second one is a little bit more complicated. You may need a developer for this. You manually tell the code when you want it to execute, and this is very useful for something like a video. If you've got a video that you click on to play, we don't need to load the video until the user clicks on it, right? Another great example is your pop-up apps. So a pop-up isn't going to show for 5 to 10 seconds anyway, right? Why are we loading this at the beginning? We should wait until the user scrolls, then load the script, and then the pop-up shows. The user won't know the difference. Lazy loading is all about lowering the priority of assets so that they load later on. However, sometimes you want to do the opposite and increase the priority. An example of this is your main banner image or your PDP image. The website does not look like it's loaded until these images show because this is the main thing that the user sees. Check the link in the description. I have a solution. It is literally a copy and paste job. It takes 5 minutes and you do not need to be technical. However, it will noticeably boost the speed of your website and you'll get more conversions and less bounces. So why not? You've probably seen an example of progressive loading already. If you've ever seen a very low res image on a website and then it becomes high res after a few seconds, that's progressive loading. You start by loading all images that are super low quality because it makes it very quick. And it's almost like not loading the images at all. And then when the browser has a little bit of time, because it's run your analytics scripts and everything else, it then goes back and downloads the high res images. which is great for the user because it looks really quick and it stops anything being render blocking. I've tried this technique before and it's gone badly because I tried to lazy load the main images. It's very important you don't use these techniques on primary images, okay? If you make the main part of the website go slower, the whole website looks slow. It's counterproductive. You want everything that is below the fold to go slow. Remember that. So that is how progressive loading works. You can use it for basically anything. The main goal of this video is just to help you understand so you can start talking more to your team about it. I promise you, if you mention this to the devs, they will start coming up with kooky ideas you don't understand, but it will be in the vein of progressive loading and it will improve performance. 30 megabytes is the average website size and it's a lot to download at once, but it's not that much downloaded over 12 seconds, right? We just got to make sure that what the user sees is the most important stuff and we can download the rest later. The fastest way to improve the speed of your website is to delete everything, but if you can't delete everything, the next best thing is to make it spread out.